Hey everybody, welcome to Go Bold. I am coming to you today from Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt, and we are at the work point area of the base, and specifically at HMCS Venture, which is one of the training establishments at the base. For this season, we are following Halifax class crews as they come together to make a ship come to life. And in doing so, you need to train. And in the Royal Canadian Navy, there's a tiered approach to training. There's basic training, there's individual training, and then there's collective training. So here at HMCS Venture is one of the areas where crews come together and they use simulators to help them get up to speed before going on actual ships and deploying. So inside you will see small simulators and large 360-degree view simulators. So welcome to HMCS Venture, and let's go see what they've got. Hey everybody, welcome to Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt. We are here at the Work Point Barracks area of the base, and we are at HMCS Venture. And I'm joined today by Lieutenant Commander Clay Erickson. Clay, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Thanks. So tell me a little bit about HMCS Venture, and our focus for this season is the Halifax class frigate and what it takes to get the crew trained and ready to fight. And so I think that's part and parcel of what you guys do here.
Absolutely. So HMCS Venture is a training institution for a number of trades, both for non-commissioned members as well as officers, both earlier in the career and as well as they progress intermediate and advanced levels as they progress throughout their career. So in relation to the Halifax class, we provide early trade training for both naval technical officers, so your marine systems engineering officer, combat system engineering officer, and their early technical trade training, and as well as we're predominantly also focused on the naval warfare officer training, both earlier in the career and as also intermediate for navigating officer for certain levels as they progress up their training, and as well for personnel who are progressing towards command. So all levels at the naval war officer trade, but also other trades as they progress through their levels of leadership within a ship. So before you can be promoted to master sailor, you need to complete your primary leadership qualification, and we also host that here at the unit.
Awesome, awesome. So in terms of people that will be sailing on a Halifax class frigate, what would they be doing here? Like, what are some of the facilities you have at this school?
So a lot of the facilities we have here on the footprint at Work Point is the Naval Bridge Simulator. So those that are working in a bridge environment, so naval warfare officers, we're progressing their skill sets, and as well as other trades that are supporting that team-based environment on the bridge will be coming here, whether they're on a ship and coming in for skilled maintenance training, also individual training throughout their trade progression as well within that environment. And then we also have locations at Albert Head for field training for primary leadership qualification, basic leadership qualification as well. But predominantly here at Venture, it's classroom-based training as well as those that can be achieved through the Naval Bridge Simulator for those mariner skills development.
Awesome. And how many simulators are here at this school?
So right now we have one large-scale bridge simulator, and then 6 larger bridge simulators as well that can be used for a variety of aspects as well.
Right. And as the name denotes, like a simulator, you're going to be able to replicate all sorts of different types of scenarios and different types of environments.
Absolutely. So the beauty of simulation is it gives us such a wide variety of flexibility on location, conditions, traffic type of situations, and a whole variety of emergencies without having to go through the rigmarole of sending a ship to sea.
Right.
As well as doing things that may be considered too risky to train practically in a ship. It allows us to fail safely. Just like the same reason why simulators are so common in the aerospace field, same thing for maritime as well. It's an exceptional way for us to train in a very controlled, safe environment.
And I suspect now with the thrust of being environmentally conscious, the ability to do repetitions and not have to actually spend any fuel, you know, is a great way to train.
Absolutely. There's so many aspects that make simulation such a viable training opportunity and an option for organizations, whether they're military or civilian, to manage your costs in a feasible way, but also manage risk. Because we can put personnel in situations that we would never put people in for real, because it would risk other training personnel, it would risk the ship. We could do things that enable people to know their boundaries without risking anything, and as well as the cost savings are immeasurable.
Right, right. Excellent. Well, let's go take a look at some of the simulators.
Absolutely. Okay, welcome to the Collier building. This is our primary training building for HMCS Venture, predominantly for our Naval War Officer and Naval Technical Officer trades. In here we have a number of classrooms, as well as the Naval Bridge Simulator that I mentioned before. So we're going to head inside. We're going to make our way to the Naval Bridge Simulator. We have an opportunity to take a look at our smaller ones, as well as eventually make our way to Bridge Alpha, our primary large-scale training simulator. So follow me. In desk training. So if you take a look in here, you'll see some personnel engaged in training. This is our command development course. So they're more senior lieutenants working towards their lieutenant commander and working towards the operations room officer level. So quite senior in the kind of lieutenant world. They're progressing their qualification to hopefully achieve their command qualification in due time, so they can take control and command of a Halifax class ship.
Midships?
Midships.
80 yards to the long, 80 yards ahead of safe water. This is where I want to start considering now. Double standard helmet port and transition to the wings. You can see that. Port 30.
430.
Look down. Look ahead.
34 long.
Copied 60 yards. We know the magic number is 20 yards, so just keep that in mind. You have 1.8 knots made good. No, that's for no further ahead.
Oh, no, okay.
Because you're getting very close to wanting to slow the ship down, start using a stern propulsion. A stern bow 3.
A stern bow 3. Stern bow 3.
40 yards.
Slow stern bow.
Slow stern both.
Slow stern both.
That's fighting nice.
Slow engine, slow stern set.
Let it take
34
effect.
long.
Ship's head 7 degrees in the lie of the jetty, paying to port. That's fine. You're not breaching 270. Half a knot. No. Stop engines.
Stop both engines.
Stop both engines. Both engines stop. 34 long.
Okay, so we got slight tendency, decimal one of a knot of a sternway. Not a big deal. We can mitigate for that. So always it's been turned off. Engines are off. We're very nicely laterally set. Take a look. Look at that.
30 yards opening.
And we still have 4 degrees into the line of the jetty, which means we're not putting a stern into the jetty, which is good. We're not gonna cause damage. You can recover from all of this. This is comfortable.
Once we got onto the bridge wing, it didn't look as bad as I thought it was.
Right, that's the parallax piece, right? You're at the center line, you're missing about 9 meters of view at a ranged distance, so you have a parallax. You go, oh, whoa. Okay, so now let's cast ourselves in. And let's make ourselves a sternboard departure. Now, how we want to do that is just like we did on the last one. We want to use a big water wedge, hard to starboard.
Starboard 30.
Starboard 30.
We'll wait for that to take effect.
30 starboard long.
Very good.
Both engines
Because we
stop.
have stern creep of decimal one of a knot, you want to go ahead on your port first. Ahead port 3.
Ahead port 3.
Head port 3.
2, 3, astern starboard, 4, slow stern starboard.
Slow stern starboard.
Slow stern starboard.
So Clay, we were just in that first simulator. What exactly were we witnessing there?
So here we have the command development course, so senior lieutenants working towards their command qualification. So here they're practicing alongside some departures. So leading up to that, most of your bridge training is focused on at-sea movements, so transiting in coastal, open ocean, and pilotage waters. Here, it's a completely different world, a different finesse. taking a large warship and bringing it alongside or departing a jetty. Whole different world, whole different skill set. So this is where they're getting their first real kick at learning those skills. Okay, so next we're going to look at Bridge Alpha. Bridge Alpha is our larger 360-degree projection-based simulator. Just so happens down there, I understand that you're looking at HMCS Ottawa. You had spoken to them earlier. So we happen to have the HMCS Ottawa crew here doing some skill maintenance training down here. So let's take a look.
Fantastic, thank you.
Welcome to Bridge Alpha. So Bridge Alpha is our 360-degree projection-based simulator with, as you can see behind me, a simulated bridge environment at the center. So once you're inside, you don't necessarily see the bottom or the top of the screen anymore. It gives a much more realistic training environment. It gives a better depth of field than what some of ours have that are using a screen as the picture. Here you can move your head around the stanchions, the barriers between the windows to get a better view of the environment around you. Here we have members of HMCS Ottawa conducting some bridge training to maintain some skills. Here we are in the San Juan Island area, in the Southern Gulf Islands, engaging in some training. Here they're practicing their core skills as well as some aspects related to operating in a GPS-denied environment, so utilizing their more basic core skills that were taught on fixing the ship's position using more traditional means. So here they're able to practice, build those core skill sets without having to send the ship to sea for a smaller team to engage in their individual training and maintaining their skills for this team here, for example.
Awesome, let's go take a look.
Let's take a look. So he's going to give a block report.
Okay.
Which is a good report that they give to the captain.
Okay.
Captain Austin, watch 20 radar visual contact report. Cruise ship at Red 5 at 1.9 miles, identified by AAS as the Ruby Princess 1. She's northbound in the lanes. We are 20 degrees on our port bow. She is drawing left with a CPA of port cables on our port bow in 3 minutes. We have course alteration starboard 200 in 1 minute. ISS no risk of collision. Recommend maintain. First please. Aye, sir. Okay, so we have the nav aid on our starboard bow there.
Yep.
Should be, what is that?
Uniform?
Yeah, we'll do a running fix on the uniform.
Ready?
Mark 206.5.
206.5.
I'll take the next one off.
Roger. Still there now.
We said the trails are just slow.
HMCS Halifax.
I was using very tight level.
I'll just let that bridge. They couldn't see it. They couldn't see it.
No, I think this is just. Hi, I'm Sub Lieutenant Jonathan Borger. I'm acting as today's Officer of the Watch in our navigation and bridge simulators. These are state-of-the-art simulators that let us mimic the conditions that we're going to experience at sea to develop our bridge watchkeeping and navigation skills. So today, as the Officer of the Watch, I'm responsible for keeping this fictional ship safe, be it from colliding with land or colliding with other ships. Supporting me, I'll have a second Officer of the Watch who is manning a lot more of the computer systems and our information technology that we use. So for example, we have navigation radars and our electronic charting and position systems. And we're using those two systems together to correlate the information that we're seeing outside visually, tying it in with our navigation position sources, such as GPS and our inertial navigation systems, and then taking that with the radar information that is painting a true-to-life picture and combining those three information sources into one consolidated picture, ensuring that we keep the ship safe. So that is close teamwork working between the officer of the watch, the second officer of the watch, and even sometimes a third officer of the watch, depending on the complexity of the operations. Also on a bridge, we'll have lookouts, who are basically our first line of defense for seeing things outside that we might not be picking up on our systems or we might not have seen yet. Sometimes we'll have be focused in on trying to figure out where we are or dealing with a tricky situation with another vessel that we have to alter for to avoid colliding with them, and we our bubble starts shrinking in, but the lookout is a critical role for us in pulling us back out of our bubble and giving us early warnings of both what they see on land, be that like flashing lights at night, ships, objects in the water, debris that could be harmful for the ship, like fish traps or other logs, like large logs, and even aircrafts, and when we're going into the Asia Pacific region, drones and other objects of concern for us. I'll also often have a naval communicator on the bridge. They are my backup when I'm communicating both locally with marine traffic services that help, kind of acting like an air traffic control, but for marine waterways. And also they're responsible for communicating with other ships when we operate in task group. And then lastly, on this generic bridge, I'll have a helmsperson that is both controlling the speed of the ship and actually driving the ship, turning the ship under the direction of the officer of the watch.
How has Navy life been for you?
So I've been in the Canadian Armed Forces for almost 8 years. Originally I wanted to join as a pilot, but from my first experience of coming out here for a summer and getting to go at sea, I fell in love with the job and being at sea, and it's very much convinced me to stay in the Navy and not try and become a pilot. So I absolutely love going to sea. It's an incredibly dynamic and exciting environment, and it's something that very few people get to experience. Let alone there's few people who get to go on a boat and experience bridge watchkeeping, but there's even a smaller subset of people who get to experience bridge watchkeeping in a warfare capacity on a warship and get to drive basically the Corvette of the seas around at high speeds, doing some really cool things, operating with foreign navies, getting to go to see really cool places. Like one of the coolest things I've done so far in the Navy has been able to jump out of a helicopter, which other than people in the Navy, I've never met somebody else who's been able to do that. So it's an awesome job that gives you allows you to see very cool things and do very cool things and work with amazing people, which can't ask for more than that.
I agree. Thank you very much,
And,
Lieutenant.
Yeah, we have Vancouver's coming close by, doing a sail by for you.
Oh, really?
Right.
I'm pretty sure we're a lot more started. Yeah. Look at the buoy on the chart there, and looks like we're like this visually.
Good afternoon. I'm Sub Lieutenant Travis Verbeek. I'm a bridge watchkeeper on board HMCS Ottawa. Today we're here with our bridge team practicing in the simulators, the NABs, which is a resource available to us to practice all our bridgemanship skills and navigation training. So today we're driving in the San Juan Islands, and we're practicing driving without GPS. This is part of our training before our deployments, where we may be in environments where we are denied the use of GPS, and so we still have to be able to drive around safely and navigate, not hit other boats, and definitely not run aground. So today we're getting a lot of practice taking fixes on land, testing other areas and other skills to know where we are. So for example, we're testing pool of errors today, which is knowing where we are and are not based on the depth of water beneath us, and at the same time doing the same normal jobs of navigating around islands and practicing collision avoidance around other boats we have.
Awesome. And we are in the San Juan Islands, and talk to me about the fidelity of this simulator. How does it compare to an actual Halifax class frigate that you sail on, that you will be deploying on later this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is it moves a lot less. The building doesn't actually move side to side, so we spill a lot less coffee and nothing goes flying around. But for what you're looking at outside, it's a very good representation. All the features that we would expect to see on charts, whether less paper but more what we have on our computers, they're all modeled realistically and accurately to what we would expect to see. So it's a huge benefit to us that I can drive through this island and I can see the same shape of islands, the same edges of land, the same kind of landmarks. If it's buildings, lights, the navigation aids, they're all around there for us that we can practice using and also prepare to go into places. We'll often come into the NAVs to practice going into a foreign port. And so we'll get the same kind of references, landmarks and features, going under a bridge where you expect to see buoys floating in the water. So we can use it accurately to prepare if you're going to a place you don't know, or in a very busy area that we're pretty familiar with, like here in the Gulf Islands. We know it's reliable because we compare it to simulators versus real life in all our training, and we know it's giving us the same product, so we can focus on practicing skills in a realistic environment.
Awesome. And one of the skills that you need to learn in terms of driving the ship is to come along closer to other warships.
Absolutely. So in here, the simulator models civilian craft, big cargo carriers, ferries, pleasure craft, but it also has a lot of military models as well. So all of our Canadian assets are modeled, all of our American allies' assets are modeled. So we can practice driving alongside other frigates, other training craft. We can practice doing RAS approaches, so replenishments at sea. We'll drive right beside another tanker, and we can practice getting all the way into the standby station, driving up alongside, inching closer so we can simulate as we would pass gear and get ready to start doing that transfer of goods, and then practice that station keeping very close to another ship. For example, last week we were here and we were practicing driving around an aircraft carrier, something for all of us here today we've never done, so we can kind of get an appreciation for how a huge warship will go way faster than us and what it's like to chase them around. So the simulation is very realistic here. We can practice operating with helicopters. When we embark a cyclone on board, as you might hear in the background, there's one flying by there. But it's a good process for us to go through the full launch procedure and having that communication with the mentors and the crew and the staff we have, the same kind of voice communications that we would do, we can practice going through those motions. Physically, it's a generic bridge setup, so we can apply it to many different ships, but it builds the mental skills and the framework of what you're expecting to do. So when we're back on the frigate, buttons might be in slightly different places, but we know what the next action is to do, so it makes it a lot easier to adjust to that.
Excellent, excellent. And so how often can you mentioned that you've been here for the last few weeks, but how often can you expect to be in here prior to deployment?
We'll probably be in here at least once a week. The fleet as a whole runs a session on Tuesdays, so it kind of bounces the responsibility between each different ship to coordinate what the training plan will be. Obviously, a lot of people use the simulators here, CDC courses, NWO 3-4, the F&O courses. So there's a lot of people wanting to use this as a valuable resource, but we can put requests in, and there's always time to be flexible. During the day, you can come in at night. So we'll be in here probably at least once a week, all the way up until we leave, just so we can keep practicing different skills that we, as watchkeepers, say, I want to practice this and get better at it. Or if we have events and serials we want to train and prepare for, then as a whole team, us with our command team as well, will be in here practicing as well.
Awesome. And are these simulators linked to other simulators?
Yes. Yeah, they absolutely are. So this is obviously a very nice big 360 simulator with all the projectors, but there's a number more upstairs, and they can all be linked together. So if we want to practice driving formation maneuvers with a guide ship and 3 other boats driving all around each other very close, then we can absolutely do that. It's part of your training on NWO3, so the first major NWO course that we do, and it's a big part of the curriculum is to practice driving close to other boats, and the fidelity to that is very good. So in here, it's the exact same procedures we'll do. We'll have a captain we report to, we'll have an officer of the watch who's coordinating the bridge, driving the ship where we need to be. We'll have a team doing Relvel on paper, drawing course to station, and calculating where you need to go and when you need to steady up back on your guide's course.
Steer
And then we
173.
still have radio comms between all the bridges as well. So we have full fidelity of all the tools that we would actually expect to use, as we can absolutely use that here.
So, Lieutenant, I've got to ask, is service in the Navy what you expected? Because this is some pretty cool technology here. And obviously the ability to deploy and to go out on a ship is very cool. How has naval service to you been in comparison to what you thought prior to joining?
Yeah, obviously a lot of people will talk about how COVID was a bit of a bump in the road for how we needed to adapt and adjust to doing that training. But the training we get here is very good for preparing us and when we make that adjustment from a trainee to joining the fleet. So the NAVs here specifically definitely prepares you in your bridge routine and the skills you need to have before you go to sea for the first time. So you have a fair expectation of what you're expecting to happen when you get there, so you're well prepared for that next step. You'll practice being at sea, and then you're properly prepared for the next step to join the fleet, where again, you're still in a trainee role as the job's a lot bigger, but the skills you learned here on your training definitely relate to where you need to go. They just crank up the expectations and the amount of things you're juggling all at the same time. But as you have the time and you're properly prepared to do that, you get more and more responsibility to then be able to perform the job. So it's definitely met expectations in being properly supported to do the job you're asked to do, while still being different every day. So very engaging. You have to be on your toes about expecting what's coming up and being properly prepared, but it's never the same time. It's never routine, just leaving port and going out. It's always a big evolution with a lot of people involved, and so that's why the training is important, so you can prepare for all the different things you're going to do.
Nice. And what are you looking forward to in deploying on HMCS Ottawa later this year?
Definitely getting around and seeing other places and a bit of warmer water. Winter here in Victoria, a little nicer than the East Coast, but it'd be nice to head south or see different parts of the world for sure. Interacting with other navies is a big one too. Working with our allies, I've been fortunate on other ships to operate with the Americans out of Hawaii and areas like that. But getting over to see Japan and other countries that we may interact with, I think will be a big part that is tougher to simulate because we are obviously working with other RCN members here. And so it's something that you kind of have to be on your toes to play with it as it goes.
Well, I can't think of a better way for you guys to kind of get up to speed than a tool like this 360-degree simulator. Lieutenant, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much.
Like, is there any northbound contacts?
500 yards? No.
It's the. Ooh, I can go together. Here we go. Solar eclipse, maybe?
620 yards steady.
Fingers up there. I captured off to watch one new signal waiting execution. We're to take station on the guide's port beam at 500 yards. When in station, the guide will bear 263 at 500 yards, so it's usually maneuver. I intend to come left.
It's 20 degrees.
20 degrees, 153 at station speed. I keep range and bearing on the guide. Regain the guide's course and speed. There are no other ships in this formation, therefore there are no safety considerations for this signal waiting execution.
Yes, please.
I'm Charles the Watch, signal has been executed.
Yes, please.
Set speed 25.
Speed 25.
Port 15.
Port 15. 15 Port Milano.
Very good. Set key range 450 yards opening.
450 yards opening.
Midships.
Midships.
Starboard 5.
Starboard 5.
Confirm.
5 radar Milano.
We're at 600 yards.
Okay. So steer 153.
Steer 153.
We're already at 600.
We're at
It's gonna close, so it should be roughly give me 450 yards opening.
Switch that back.
Range to guide.
Range to guide, 570 yards.
Start 15.
Start with 15.
Closing or opening? Looks like it's opening.
Looks like it's opening.
15 start with on.
Guide's course.
175. 176.
Range to guide. Okay.
Range to guide,
Midships.
540 yards. Closing.
Steer port 5.
Port 5. 5 4 wheel on.
Midships.
Ships.
Steer 178.
Steer 178.
Set key range 520 yards closing.
Alright,
Actually,
pass
five.
key range at 500 yards closing.
Port 5.
Port 5. 5 4 wheel on.
Midships.
Ships.
Steer 175.
Steer 175.
Range.
Range 470 yards closing.
Set key range 490 yards opening.
490 yards opening.
Steer 173.
Steer 173.
Shane, what do you assess the range to be to the relative vector when it's on our beam up there right now? Like on the relative, like scroll up compared to where you are. What's that range?
That range is 310.
So we're probably gonna cover the inside. I see the that's on there right now. And that's more range when we were starting up. We did quite a bit of separation.
Port 15.
Yeah, exactly.